Yo, how we doing, gamers? Welcome back to another New World video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing off a couple weapon mastery farms that you guys can do. With this video, I'm going to be showing off some more earlier game ones that you can be doing right around like level 20 to 25 is pretty much where you can start. Otherwise, before that, you really don't need to worry about farming your weapon mastery. You'll naturally get it. It's not going to be a big deal. And then otherwise, I'm going to have a few more spots as we move up through the levels. And honestly, even the lower level one, like the level 25 one, I still use here at level 60. It's still incredibly good XP. But all these different farms are going to have different scenarios and different benefits depending on what group you're running, what weapons you're running, and all that kind of stuff. So just keep all of these farms in mind depending on what you're trying to be using. Now, all of these farms are solo friendly, except for the last one that we're going to go over. But if you guys can get a small group going for that one, or if you just have a really cracked build, you guys can actually solo that one as well. But that one is really, really good XP, and it's not too bad to run. But that one will be a level 60. The rest you can start doing, like I said, much earlier on. But otherwise, before we jump into these farms, if you guys have any sort of New World questions or just want to come hang out, we're live on Twitch basically every single day. Also, we're quickly approaching 50,000 subs here on YouTube. So if you guys aren't subscribed and you want to see more New World content, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into these farms. Now, the first farm that we're going to be going over today, which is the lower level one, this is the one that you can start doing around like level 20 if you have a group. Otherwise, 25 is the recommended level of the area. Otherwise, the enemies are really not that strong. They're not too bad. I've done this for quite a while, and this is, like I said, one that I still use. Like, I've been using this to level up my ice gauntlet. And that is Dead Man's Cove here in the southern part of Monarch's Bluff. In here, the enemies respawn really quick. It is an elite area, so they are going to be a little bit more tanky, but that's why we're going to be getting so much more XP. Roughly here at level 60, I'm not sure if the XPs change if you guys are a lower level. I know the weapon mastery doesn't matter that much because I have two weapons that are different masteries and I was getting the same XP from the enemies. The only thing that's going to influence how much XP you get is if you are running with other people. Even if they're not in your group, if you guys are all trying to kill the same enemy, you're going to get reduced XP. Usually that's been around about 30% less XP, right around there. But otherwise, here in Dead Man's Cove, when I was playing solo and nobody was influencing and hitting the enemies that I was hitting, I was getting about 102 XP per kill. Now, some of the enemies, you can get a little bit more from them, but I would honestly stay away from them, like the anchor guys. They go through this phase where they take way less damage, and it takes way too long to kill them, and that increase in XP that they give you, I think it's only like anywhere between like 40 and 70 more XP. It's not even like double or anything, but it takes like 5 times as long to kill them as opposed to a normal enemy. It's really not worth it, so I try to avoid them when I can and just focus on the weakest mobs within this area. And otherwise, you can just stay outside and go up and down those couple little tiers outside. You can go in and just pull a bunch of enemies in if you have a lot of AoE and just kill them all at once. That's usually what I do with the ice gauntlet. And you can get stacks of upwards like 500-600 XP per like horde wipe, which is pretty crazy, and it only takes like a couple seconds, and they just respawn so quick. So outside, you can start at the bottom, work up to the cave, and then turn around, and they're going to start respawning usually back outside, right outside the fort, and you can just go right back up and just rinse and repeat. The Dead Man's Cove is a fantastic option for earlier game or your late game solo players who don't have anybody to play with. This is a fantastic place to go. An alternative to Dead Man's Cove would be Stone Skull Fort down here at the bottom of Cutlass. These enemies are a little bit tougher, but they do grant a little bit more XP. So if you have no trouble soloing these guys, go for it. Otherwise, if you do have a small group, you can try this instead of Dead Man's Cove if you're a higher level. Now, the next two are going to be over here in Restless Shores. The first one that I'm about to show you right now is probably the most popular weapon XP farm right now. It is actually pretty darn good, but it's actually not my favorite. And you guys probably know it. It is the Boar's Home up here. There's just a bunch of boars and also a boss boar who just keep spawning over and over in here. And they do give pretty good XP as like just a whole, just because they spawn so many of them. But there are a lot of people who run here, so your XP is going to be getting reduced because, at least in my server, there's always like a group of like 5 to 10 people in this area farming some mastery. And when I was farming this, I was getting about 30 to 50 XP for a normal boar. And then on the big boar, I was getting about between 60 to 100 XP. It kind of depended on how many people were there hitting the enemies. This farm is really good if you just want an absolute brain dead farm. You don't really have to think. You're not really in any sort of trouble, especially since how many people usually end up going to this spot. So this is a fantastic option if you guys are in like the level 35 plus range. Now, the other Restless Shore farm that I do quite often, just because it is angry earth enemies. So if you guys are using the great axe or a fire staff, this is gonna be really good because you're gonna be strong against them. That is the Eridanus area over here. There's also some enemies you can kill outside that are non-elites. So the non-elites were usually giving me around like 55 XP, which is still pretty decent. That's just like the boars. And if you guys are higher level with a fire staff, you can kill them in basically an instant. And then up here at the elite area, I was usually getting around 125 to 165 XP per kill, at least solo. You'll occasionally run into some people out here, but not too often. But if you guys are trying to level that great axe or fire staff, this is a fantastic place. And personally, in the beta, this is where I farmed up my fire staff to 20. That XP really does add up, and you can kill the enemies super quickly. I would try to avoid the shield guys though, because like the anchor dudes, they take reduced damage when they do like a certain ability. If you focus on like the healer type enemy and the archers, you guys will be able to fly through some XP over there. Now, the final weapon mastery spot that I want to show off to you guys is going to be for the later game stuff, because I believe they were level 60 enemies, and that is going to be up here in Great Cleave and the Mangled Heights area. This little run back here is fantastic. So there are a bunch of groups of like 5 to 8 crawlers that spawn, and you can get hundreds of XP in just a couple seconds for wiping them out. Now, this one, because the enemies are really high level and elites, it's going to be a little bit tougher solo. Even if you are level 60, it's going to be a little bit slower. So this one is the one that I do recommend that you do run with a group. It's going to help you guys out. You are obviously going to get that reduced XP, but the speed in which you can kill the enemies is very worth it. And it's actually going to increase the XP per hour that you end up getting. Really quick, if we look at my level 19 hatchet, and I'm only a little bit in there, I only need 14,500 XP to get to level 20. In those crawler groups that I was saying that are all over the farm up in Great Cleave, you can get 500 to 600 XP per group wipe, and that only takes like a couple seconds. So that's realistically right around like 30 groups of enemies that you need to clear, which is like less than 30 minutes of farming to go a whole last mastery level, which is pretty darn crazy. If you guys were trying to level up mastery in just like the open world, you know how slow it can be at times, but if you do go into these elite areas and just focus on these big groups, you can just fly through them. Normally in the Mangled Heights area, I do skip a lot of the beefier enemies like the acolytes and things like that. But if you are running for a group and you're level 60 and also want to try to farm up your gear score, this is another great place that you can knock out weapon mastery and gear score grinds at the same time. But yeah, that is pretty much all of the different weapon mastery farms that I end up doing. Like I said at the start of the video, it just kind of depends who I'm running with, what weapons I'm trying to level up, and all that sort of stuff on which one I will go and do. But any of these options, and no matter what your level is, you can just go ahead and just knock them out and just go insane. You'll get level 20 masteries in absolutely no time, and that's something you really want to do, because just really quick, if we go ahead and look at the staff that I have equipped, this is actually done by doing a quest once you reach level 20 in your fire staff mastery. And you do a bunch of stuff up in Shattered Mountain. You unlock quests whenever you hit level 20 in a mastery, and you get a 580 gear score item, which is pretty darn crazy. And this thing does extra damage to Corrupted, which is really nice because in endgame you farm a lot of Corrupted. So there is a really big reason to leveling up all your different weapons. But anyways, if you did find this video helpful, learned a little bit of something, make sure you leave a thumbs up on it to let me know. It really does help me out. Also, consider subscribing for more New World content. Like I said at the start of the video, if you guys want to come hang out on Twitch, ask me any sort of questions, I will be over there pretty much every single day streaming. But anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.